Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another story that belongs in other news. Not necessarily the headlines, but taking the time to explore the things that often lead to today's headlines. I'm your host, Robin Robinson. New week, same mission: truth, fun, blackness. We're getting all three today. My guests are a couple of guys that might be described as the world's first reality film stars. They didn't know it at the time. They were just kids, a film crew following them and their families for 5 years, documenting the most formative years of their lives, from adolescence to young adults. It resulted in Hoop Dreams. The late great film critic Roger Ebert called it one of the best movie-going experiences of his life, because it's also about so much more than basketball. Backstory is about scarcity, injury, family struggles, academic quicksand, a host of obstacles faced by many of our kids who may have the talent but not the chance to be the next Isaiah Thomas or Angel Reese. But it's also about celebrations, resilience, and comebacks. Arthur Agee and William Gates, two youngsters from Chicago's West Side, South Side. Hoop Dreams follows their dreams of making it to the pros, shooting that ball to bounce them and their whole family out of their challenging neighborhoods, what we used to call the inner city. Countless young black athletes have worked toward that same dream while navigating the rest of life without a silver platter. When you shoot for the moon, you may not always land on it, but just landing among those stars has produced two men of influence beyond the world of basketball. The impact on their communities is significant. The power of their story also engages people outside our communities who really do want to understand and address the many disparities. Without ever making it to the NBA, Arthur and William have become legend. I don't know how they handle the pressure, but we're going to find out when we come back. We're in conversation with the stars of Hoop Dreams as the film celebrates its 30th anniversary.
Hi, I'm Bianca Cotton. Join me Mondays at 7 p.m. as I sit in conversation with incredible, dynamic, and complex Chicagoans who peel back the layers, living lessons, the joy, and the pain behind their confident smiles. Join the conversation Mondays at 7 p.m. on CAN-TV Cable Channel 19 and streaming on cantv.org and CAN-TV Plus app.
I'm Ricky Watson, and I'm inviting you to join me for the new CAN-TV original program, Critical Conversations. Each month, I'll share space with special guests who, like you and me, are on their journey of self-discovery and deeper understanding. Join the conversation on CAN-TV Cable Channel 19, or stream live on cantv.org, or on the CAN-TV Plus app. Elevated conversation and storytelling. Experience the power of community television.
In 1994, two young men found themselves on a worldwide stage. 30 years later, the film that made them famous still remains relevant, and so do they. Please welcome Arthur Agee and William Gates, the stars of Hoop Dreams. Thank you so much for being with us. William is in, where are you at, Houston?
San Antonio.
Okay, well, Texas, someplace warmer, apparently,
Right?
okay?
Yeah.
We're glad you
Yes.
could be with us, even if just virtually. And Arthur, you're
Yes.
still based in Chicago.
Based here right here in Chicago on the west side. Thank you, Robin, for having us. You're a legend in our book.
Oh, no, you guys are the legends, all right? I got to say, one of the best parts about doing this show with you is I watched the movie again.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my goodness. It's
Oh.
better than I remember it from the first time. I think it's because there's so much stuff that's not good that's on that by comparison,
Yeah.
it really still shines. And I'm thinking about you guys waking up one day, maybe you're a freshman in college, and all of a sudden you're in a movie that is going crazy worldwide. What
Yeah.
did that feel like?
Well, I was in Arkansas State, 94 when it came out. William was in Marquette, and actually William was playing in the NIT during that spring, March.
So all cameras on him, right?
All cameras was on him. I had just met President Clinton. He had flew to my school because he had a private screening the night before, and he was coming to my school to dedicate our new library. And he requested for me that he wanted to meet me. So all of that happened within the movie coming out that week.
And that wasn't your expectation. That's not what you thought was going to happen, was it, William?
No, not at all. Truthfully, I was kind of like marveled by the whole thing. Like Marquette assigned like a special person to me, like to follow me around and go wherever I went. I mean, it was like overwhelming, but yet I was like, I feel like a rock star. I mean, we're in New York, Madison Square Garden. I mean, stars of stars, and I'm the opening, monologue for ESPN. Like, this was just insane.
Yeah.
That's my, and of course, Chicago was very proud, but also in some ways saying, you know what, there are some things that we need to address. Were there any bad repercussions from that? I mean, because you guys shared a lot, maybe more than you knew you were sharing at the time.
Yeah, for me, I don't think there was any bad repercussions from it, but we didn't make the NBA. I mean, in that regard of how kids are handled today with trying to make the NBA is totally different. We got school of hard knocks. Like there was no one helping us, no entourage, anything like that. You got to get in the NBA on your own. But to me, I would think that was the only negative repercussion. Other than that, beautiful.
So something that happens that people are kind of aware of but was really shown in this film was that people would come to recruit young African-American boys from, go to the basketball courts that were around town and see who looked good and recruit them to go to other, better suburban schools. St. Joseph figured prominently in you guys' story, and I want to, I can't go, y'all have to watch the movie. I'm not going to tell you all about it, but when you both got recruited to St. Joseph. You got there, didn't maybe perform as well as they were hoping. You said something about your coach said, "When are you going to grow?" I don't know what's to be taller. I'm not sure what was the expectation there. But when you really found out that it was about rewards and costs, and here's that conversation.
I had got called down to the office. Brother Leo wanted to talk to me. And he was telling me about how much certain money my mama had to pay for me to stay in school. And they said, if she don't have it by this time, you got to stay out till she pay it. And I was staying out like 2 and 3 weeks and stuff.
By the end of the freshman year, whatever balance there was for tuition was never taken care of. Consequently, going into the sophomore year, we had the balance plus the new tuition, so that it was going to continue to become a problem.
Whatever scout that they have come out to these different neighborhoods and scout out these little basketball players and get them to come to their school and offer them these scholarship. Then once they get out there, the story is totally different. I was under the impression that Arthur would have help as far as getting to school. Arthur would have help in getting his books. Arthur would have help. But see, none of that occurred.
So that was a rude awakening that suddenly you owed all this money. And I don't want to give away the film, but that later came back to haunt you when you were trying to get your transcripts to go to college. Oh, you got to pay this money first. That's insane. Meanwhile, Wiliam gets to stay at St. Joseph. Is it because you could pay or because you could play a little better?
Well, it definitely was. It definitely wasn't because I could play. I mean, could pay. So here's the reality. And I just wanted to say this particularly for all the Arthur Agee fans out there. It was not Will Gates stopping Arthur Agee from going to St. Joe's. So I want to put that out there. Because what people don't recognize, that's my guy. That's my dog. That's my boy. And him not being there actually affected me because he was the only guy I recognized that I knew. We had something in common. And so we felt so comfortable with each other being out there because him and we were on the page of, man, we're going to do this together. But it got cut short. And I just feel like this, and I've been asked this question a million times, was St. Joe's wrong? And I've said this even to them. They were wrong. You make a commitment, honor that commitment. You have to.
Well, I do have to comment that St. Joe's did sue the filmmakers.
Yes,
they didn't. They didn't think they were. They didn't use the grounds of we weren't portrayed in a good light. They used the grounds of you told us this was going to be a little film on PBS, a little nonprofit. That they probably thought like you thought. Nobody's going to see this.
Absolutely.
The success could not have been predicted. But they did drop that suit and hopefully have maybe re-examined some of their policies.
Yeah. When they did that, they actually. What Cartemquin did was provided Marshall and St. Joe's a Hoop Dream scholarship every year for a kid who was deserving but undeserved, couldn't pay. So that scholarship would help that kid at both schools.
Very interesting, because you ended up going to Marshall High School when you were no longer able to afford the part of your tuition at St. Joseph. And we have to give a shout out to Cartemquin Films, because what a commitment, 5 years, kind of embedded with two families. How did you act so natural? I'm thinking that today it couldn't happen. Because if you put a camera in somebody's house today, they're going to start acting like the Kardashians.
Yep, you're right.
But you guys were so natural. What did it feel like?
For me, you know, I looked at it from a different lens because I was a TV watcher and I always wanted to be an actor.
Okay.
I actually auditioned to be young Isaiah Thomas in the Mary Thomas story, and I didn't get that part. But it gave me the education of understanding the business, the industry. And once I saw the cameras come on the playground and talk to me and was interested in me, I was thinking in my head, maybe this is my shot. Maybe this is my angle, you know? So I was just gonna be me as a teenage 14-year-old kid, just, you know, I wasn't gonna act any differently. I was just gonna be, because they said they wanted to, you know, film us playing basketball. So what other authenticity that you can get from me has been playing the game that I love.
You as a player. And I understand that they were already filming with you and then met Wiliam.
Yep, they were filming with me at first, and then when we went out to the St. Joe's camp, exactly how it is in the film, that's where Pingator talks about Wiliam to them. And they like, well, let us go see this kid, because they hadn't heard of him.
Very interesting. What do you think about the changes today that I would think would protect student athletes a little bit more? You know, what is it, the image, likeness?
NIL?
Yeah,
name, image, likeness.
Name, image, likeness that you can profit from, not just the schools. What do you think about that, Wiliam?
I think it's long overdue. Shout out to all the former players who have fought for the current players to be in a position to get their just due. I think one of the greatest things that can come out of it is that it's another element of the game of basketball and economics that they keep trying to pull out of it, but it's so much a part of it. And I believe that every student athlete should have an opportunity to earn some capital as they're in school, as they're playing for the sport. Because the reality is, Robin, and Agee knows this, the amount of time and effort the student athletes put into their sport is probably more than we actually put into our educational learning. The requirements are so different for a student athlete.
Very interesting. But the access that Wiliam had staying at St. Joe, you actually learned that lesson about pay to play from a pretty big name at the camp. There was a Nike camp at Princeton.
The Nike All-American camp.
Yeah, you were in high cotton, and listen to what they were saying to you about the business side of this.
15 hours a week for basketball. How many hours do we have up here?
The statistics on Division I players graduating from college are really frightening.
Let's assume you're playing big-time college basketball, and your team travels.
You have to realize that nobody cares about you. You're black, you're a young male, all you're supposed to do is deal drugs and mug women. The only reason why you're here, you can make their team win. If their team wins, these schools get a lot of money. This whole thing is revolving around money.
So Spike has been telling the truth for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And it's taken this long for the industry to do the right thing with the name, image, and likeness. You all would probably be pretty rich by now if that were the case when you were coming up.
I mean, Robin, we couldn't have jobs. Everything was surrounded around your obligation of playing that sport at that university. And they can put your picture on any newspaper, promote you on any of their media guides.
Put it on T-shirts.
Put it on T-shirts or anything, and we're not able to partake in any of those funds. But I mean, can you imagine? I mean, we couldn't even, it was a gag order where we couldn't even talk about the film and promote it. marketing, where we couldn't go on any TV shows like the Jay Leno shows or anything. So the movie came out with us in school just like, you know, if you knew
Gagged
us,
and bound.
Gagged and bound and everything. But here's this, check this out. They telling me I couldn't talk about it at my school and NC2A, but they allowed Tom Brokaw to come to Arkansas State and interview me for a segment.
Seems like it was a little selective in how those rules are enforced.
Yes. And I was taking note. I was like,
So with the experiences that you all have had and the platform that you have gained, what is your goal? I know you have a podcast now. Can you tell me where to find it, what it's called?
Well, we have the Agee Engage podcast, the Hoop Dreams podcast, and you can find us on all of your social media outlets. One of the things that we talk about is we love telling everybody else's story. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I love personally so much about it is Agee asks a question at the end of every podcast where he asks that particular guest, what is the next chapter in your hoop dreams? And to me, everybody has a story. Everybody doesn't get to tell their story. And we just want to offer people an opportunity to share how they made it, what were the issues getting there. But I'm so proud that I get to do this with my guy, that we get to continue this legacy on a different level now.
And y'all been busy. Yeah. All right, so not only do you have the podcast, Wiliam, you have a book, Hoop Dreams Fifth Quarter. Yep. Okay, yes. You're a little bit of an overachiever.
Well, I tell you this, I'm excited about the book because what it does is, interesting enough, Robin, for the last 30 years, I kind of went under the radar. I chose a different route than my guy. Arthur has always been, out in the front. He's been doing movies. He's been doing broadcasts. Me, I just wanted to be left alone and slide underneath the radar. But as the 30th anniversary was coming around, I'd had folks telling me, man, you need to tell, your story, get it back out there. What have you been doing? And so the book came to mind, and what it discusses, growing up in Cabrini, being raised by a single mom, youngest of 6, and it shares how I even talk about how you see how Sheila Agee, who is like this triumphant woman in the film, but I'm sharing with people that, my mom was just as triumphant. She just made a decision that she didn't want to be in the film because she preferred to focus on watching, if I can say this, watching the filmmakers to make sure that, everything was going right. So I love both approaches that the mothers had as they were guiding us through this process.
That's right. Your mom said she's going to make sure ain't no shady business going on.
Absolutely.
And then, I have to mention that you all have just dedicated the Hoop Dreams Court in Garfield Park this past September. You made it happen, and it's been a dream of yours, I guess.
Yeah, it was. I always wanted to do a basketball court here in Chicago somewhere. And, for years I had made, some inroads to some people at the Chicago Park District and city officials. And they all, one thing they always told me, well, we don't have the money for it. You're going to have to go raise the money for it. And when I say my God is a good God that I serve, God made it so to where somebody else offered to do it and bring our dream to reality. And they paid for it. And all I do is help with the design.
Right, so the importance of a playground in your life. And we see so many, well, I'm going to talk about this later. We see so many we don't want basketball here because we don't want those badass kids here, right? So I'm not sure what they expect them to do. Yeah. But I'm envisioning hoop dreams courts all over the country. Why not?
Yep, absolutely.
Why not?
That's exactly what me and my buddy want to do. We just don't want to start here in Chicago. We want to do a Hoop Dreams court in New York, San Antonio, and actually put the skyline of that city on the court like we have the skyline on our court here. And we want to do Hoop Dreams tournaments and on those courts all throughout the country. So that's our next dream.
Well, I'm really looking forward to it. So because, as we said, it's the dream of a lot of young people.
Yep.
Very, very low percentage actually make it to the pros. And William's still a little salty today that he didn't, I think, is what he told me recently.
Yes, he is. He is still, yeah.
And so the trust you develop with those filmmakers has resulted in a whole audience that can trust what you've said about your experience and apply it to their own. Yeah. What's next for you guys?
Oh, Will, what we got coming up?
Well,
Will, you break it. You break the news.
I think what's next for us is a couple of things. One, we got More Than a Dream. That is Agee and I. That's our documentary that we want to get made and get put out there to talk about the last 30 years, but also the future where we believe that basketball is going. We talked a little bit about our podcast, the Agee and Gates podcast. I think personally for me, what's next is to continue to build the brand. I have an HD brand, clothing brand, but also to
that's what you're wearing right there.
That's what I'm wearing right now. I'm rocking the HD. But ministry is still important in my life. I teach every Sunday on YouTube and Facebook Live because it's just a part of my life. I'm still a pastor at my core, and I love still shedding and spreading the gospel to as many people who are willing to listen.
Well, that's beautiful.
And just to piggyback what he said on our second film, we're going to dive into people that the audience didn't never see or hear from. You saw them, but you didn't hear from them. So we're gonna talk to Emma Gates and get her thoughts on the whole process of what she was thinking in 30 years.
It's like the making of Hoop Dreams.
Yes, we're gonna talk to Sheila Agee, my best friend Shannon.
Okay.
We're gonna talk to my Marshall Commando team 30 years later, get their reactions of how it all went down and what they were feeling.
But it goes a little deeper than that too, Robin. We're gonna have a piece where we're going to talk about the impact of Hoop Dreams. So we're going to be talking to players like a Jamal Crawford, like a Kyrie Irving, and how they have publicly said how Hoop Dreams has changed their life. So we want to let people know that, hey, the Agee and I'm just going to put it out there, we still the originators. And and we love hearing and want to know the impact that it has had on other hoop dreamers that have made it, but also like Agee just said, there's some other folks who've had the hoop dreams. Like I got a buddy that I played with in college, and he was on his way to make the league, but he was in a car accident, and that has changed his life forever. So we want to hear those stories too, where how you've been handling life. Because I still believe this, Robin. There are a lot of people who just don't have a plan B. Plan A is the only plan they have.
Right.
Hoop Dream shows the character that you got to have when adversity hits early. And sometimes in this basketball climate that we in, with social media, people want to give these kids something too early. They want to anoint them too early, and they haven't even gone through anything yet. So once adversity hits, now they talking about mental health.
Well, at least we're talking about mental health.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys. I fell in love with you in the film. I actually fell in love with your daddy in the film too. Okay, I just want you to know. So and all that you went through, and the fact that you opened your lives to us has been empowering.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to the next things you do. I'm gonna have to get me some of these Hoop Dreams, some of this gear you got.
Yes.
And tune into the podcast. There's more to talk about. We just ran out of time.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
We
it's
love
like
to be here.
MJ said, he never lost a game. He just ran out of time.
That's
okay.
right.
Okay. William Gates and Arthur Agee, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
On the other side of the break, back with this week's edition of Robin's Nest. Stay with us.
CAN TV is the lens through which Chicago's stories are told, harnessing the unifying power of community television. With CAN TV On Demand, immerse yourself in the richness of our city through exclusive stories and programs tailored just for you, connecting you to the heartbeats of our streets, the voices of our people, and the spirit that makes Chicago unique. Discover the strength of your community on CAN TV On Demand.
Hi, I'm financial expert Tamara Durbin, inviting you to join me each week for In the Money, the show that makes money management approachable and enjoyable. Join the conversation at 7 p.m. exclusively on CAN TV Cable Channel 19 or stream live on cantv.org or on the CAN TV Plus app. Elevated conversation and storytelling. Experience the power of community television.
This wraps another edition of In Other News, exclusively on CAN TV, where free speech is encouraged, and I would add, it's empowered. The power of story is truly represented in the adventures of William Gates and Arthur Agee. Can't thank them enough for continuing to share their story with us. What's happened since the release of legendary film Hoop Dreams is a lesson for us all. How that groundbreaking documentary changed their lives and has impacted so many others. What I've been sitting with, hatching in my little nest, is the hope that the buzz around the 30th anniversary of the film is engaging a whole new audience. The social, environmental, and economic factors viewers experience through the eyes of a young Arthur and William are as relevant today as they were in the late 80s, early 90s. If your teenagers have not seen the movie, this is a good one to watch together, if you can get them to do that. It is nearly 3 hours long, though, so you may want to plan to watch it over 2 or 3 evenings. Even if they're not young athletes with dreams of going pro, the challenges and triumphs can be related to any dream. And we need them to have dreams that drive them to work toward a goal. We also need to look at how we address the barriers to achieving those dreams. There are still today, and you know it, many neighborhoods where young people lack the most basic resources that make a dream more than a fantasy. Then we blame them and we fear them when they turn to the negative options that are readily available. Here's something simple you might want to consider. I've seen groups of neighbors that are so frustrated by the young people that gather around public basketball courts that they lobby for them to be taken down, removed. You've seen those empty poles, the nets, sometimes whole rims missing, like ghostly reminders of the fun that kids used to have. I know it's sometimes the kids themselves that destroy the courts, but we adults, park officials, have to be stronger than that. Don't remove, improve. Volunteer to be present, to coach, bring some snacks. Take up space so there's less room for mess. I know that may be a lot to ask because fear is real. Maybe you can reach out to your local police district and collaborate on creating a safe space. Hey, if you do reach out and they don't respond, I'd be really curious to hear about that. Send a note to robinsothersnews@gmail.com. Just remember, it's not about the hoops, it's about the dreams. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.